450 former national park leaders are urging President Trump to immediately shut down the national parks until the government reopens.
They say parks are open with minimal or no staff, and already numerous dangerous incidents have occurred since the shutdown began 28 days ago now. Fox 10's Ashley Rodriguez brings us the latest from the Grand Canyon.
When you look at the Grand Canyon, you see chaos, right? Billions of years of raw, violent history carved into stone. It's like a library of Earth's most brutal moments. But what if I told you that chaos isn't the whole story? What if, buried deep beneath all that ruggedness, there's something orderly, something impossibly precise? So here's what happened. Back in 2023, a seismic survey team was mapping the ground deep below the canyon. They used sound waves. It's kind of like a giant sonar for the planet. And a signal came back. But it wasn't the messy, jumbled echo you'd expect from a cave or a bunch of ore. No, it was a shape, a clear, consistent signal that, according to everything we know about geology, just shouldn't be there. And this is where it gets really weird. The data showed surfaces that were incredibly flat and parallel, stretching for kilometers. In a landscape that's defined by jagged, random fractures, this was like finding a perfect laser-cut blueprint in a pile of rubble. It just doesn't fit. Nothing about it makes sense. And get this, its location is just as strange. This thing is buried 400 meters beneath the canyon floor. It's locked inside what's called Precambrian basement rock. We're talking about the absolute foundations of the continent itself, the very bones of the Earth. This means it's at least 300 million years old, and it's probably much, much older than that. This structure was already ancient when the very first dinosaurs walked the Earth. It was there before the first forests grew. It's a ghost from a primordial world, hiding in the planet's oldest stone. So how in the world do you explain something that shouldn't exist? Well, in geology, you don't jump to crazy conclusions. The first rule is to try and disprove it with every known natural explanation. Mystery is the absolute last resort. So scientists got to work, trying to make sense of the impossible. All right, theory number one, the most obvious suspect, magma. The idea is that molten rock, millions of years ago, squeezed its way between the layers of older rock. As it cooled, it formed a massive, flat sheet called a sill. And yeah, these things can be huge and very uniform. Sounds plausible, right? Well, there's a problem, a big one. The magnetic signature from the anomaly is incredibly weak. These sills are usually made of iron-rich basalt, which should light up on magnetic sensors. This doesn't. And maybe even more telling, there's no sign of the intense heat. The rock around it isn't baked or altered. It's like it was never there. Okay, so if it wasn't magma, what's next? Let's talk about tectonics. The next theory is that this could be an ancient fault line, a scar, basically, from where two continents collided and fused together over 1 billion years ago. That kind of grinding pressure could create a smooth boundary. And this idea fits the age and the scale, but it falls apart in the details. A continental collision is one of the most violent events on Earth. It leaves behind a messy, complex disaster zone of shattered rock. This structure, though, it's just too clean, too simple. And it doesn't even line up with any of the other known fault lines. It's an orphan. All right, scratch magma, scratch tectonics. What about water? The third idea is that this could be a fossilized plumbing system carved out by super-hot, mineral-rich water circulating deep in the crust. These systems can leave behind really sharp, chemically different boundaries. But again, it explains one part of the puzzle while ignoring the biggest part. Hydrothermal systems tend to form vertical branching networks, like the roots of a tree. This structure is overwhelmingly flat and horizontal, and it is orders of magnitude larger than any fossilized hydrothermal system ever found. So with all the usual suspects ruled out, we're left with the most dramatic theory on the table. Could this be the deep roots of a massive crater from an asteroid impact billions of years ago? An event like that would have enough energy to create huge, organized fractures deep in the crust. It's a fascinating thought, but honestly, that's all it is. There is zero evidence to back it up. No shocked quartz, no unique minerals, nothing. And more importantly, the geometry is all wrong. The structure seems to be linear. An impact crater is circular. It's a square peg in a round hole. So, do you see the problem here? Every single one of our best scientific explanations can explain one piece of the puzzle, but fails to explain the others. It's a puzzle where none of the pieces fit together. Magma gets the shape right, but the chemistry wrong. Tectonics gets the age right, but the structure wrong. And that's when you have to take a step back and ask a much bigger question. What if the problem isn't the anomaly? What if the problem is us, our understanding? What if the tools we have, the processes we know, what if they're just not enough to explain this? To even begin to wrap our heads around this, we have to appreciate the scale of time we are dealing with. This structure was formed on an Earth that was, for all practical purposes, an alien planet. Let's just travel back. 300 million years ago, you'd be in a world of giant insects, massive swamp forests, the supercontinent Pangaea. But this thing could be far older. Go back 1.8 billion years. Now you're in the Proterozoic, a barren world, almost no oxygen, no life on land at all, a hotter, more violent planet. And that, right there, is maybe the most incredible fact of all. It's not just that this thing exists, it's that it's survived. It has endured billions of years of unimaginable pressure, heat, continents crashing over it, erosion. It just sat there, in the dark, as entire mountain ranges rose and fell above it. It's a true survivor. A discovery like this, it pushes you, it forces you to confront your most basic ideas about the world, to question that clean line we like to draw between what's natural and what looks designed. You know, we think of nature as messy and chaotic, but is it really? Look closer. Physics itself creates order out of randomness all the time. Crystals grow into perfect geometric shapes. Cooling lava forms perfect hexagons. Wind and sand create repeating, uniform waves. Nature is a pattern maker. So maybe this thing isn't a freak of geology. Maybe it's a freak of our expectations. Our brains are hardwired to see a straight line, a flat plane, and think, someone must have made that. But what if that's wrong? What if, given enough time, the blind forces of physics can create order that rivals our own? And that leads you to some pretty uncomfortable places. Are our own creations, our cities, our grids, are they really so special? Or are we just another expression of a universal tendency for order to emerge from chaos, just playing out on a much, much faster timescale? In the end, the real value here isn't about finding an answer. It's a lesson in humility. It's a profound reminder that we live on the thin skin of a world whose secrets we've barely begun to scratch. Its real value is in showing us how much we still have to learn. The canyon shows us the history of the Earth we can see. But this discovery, it suggests there are entire volumes of that history still buried in the silent darkness, waiting for us. The story of our planet is still being written. To continue following investigations into the unknown, subscribe to this channel.